What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through tonight's six-game slate in the association. It's NBA Emirates Cup day again, as these Tuesdays and Fridays will be for the next few weeks. We have a great matchup on tap with undefeated Cleveland going into Boston, the champs tonight. Very excited about that. But once again, it's a slate riddled with injuries and unfortunately plenty of star injuries on this one. With me to talk through it as always, Mike Gallagher. Mike, how are you doing?
Doing all right. Yeah, a lot of front-end back-to-backs again, so this is going to be tough for tomorrow. No management today. So far, at least it's like clear-cut management. Some guys are like legit hurt that we'll talk through. But yeah, I expect to be a lot of guys probably sitting out tomorrow, as a lot of coaches have kind of dropped some seeds that guys are getting worn down. We'll talk about some of those players today. But yeah, it's a fun little slate. We'd like these little 6-7 gamers. Obviously, biggest game of the season in Boston. Really excited for that one.
Yeah, this NBA Cup in-season tournament experience the last 2 years, what it's done from a schedule perspective is because we now have like a lighter week in the middle of December, it's crunching everything together beforehand. So we're getting like 5 and 7s. We're getting a lot more of the back-to-backs. If you look at the percentage of the back-to-backs that are played this year, it happens now, and then it happens like after the All-Star break, essentially. And so the NBA schedule, because of its leading to this, the NBA Cup and the in-season tournament, is just really condensed right now. So it makes sense that guys are going to start to get worn down a bit. Let's start with Cleveland and Boston, that marquee game on the slate tonight. Questionable tags for Cleveland on Karis LeVert, Sam Merrill, and Isaac Okoro. They're still without Max Strus and Dean Wade, also listed out, which is important for this matchup with Boston. What are your notes here on the likelihood of seeing LeVert, Merrill, or Okoro tonight for the Cavs?
It looks like we don't know the degree in which they went through shoot around, but they were there. So it seems like it's pretty good. So they're all different kinds of injuries. Isaac Okoro's injury is new. That's one he suffered over the weekend. Doesn't sound too serious. Kenny Atkinson mostly downplayed it. Karis LeVert, knee injury here. This isn't the same knee that kept him out earlier this year. That they managed him a little bit. So keep an eye on that. He's had injuries to both of his knees over the course of his career, but this is a new one. But it seems like a management tag for back-to-back. And there's some other players who may sit out tomorrow. And then Sam Merrill, this ankle thing's been plaguing him for most of the season. He's missed time with this all before. I think it's back-to-back. So I think they might sit Sam today. And then I think someone's sitting tomorrow. I think that at the top of the list for players sitting tomorrow, they are playing somebody.
They play
the Pelicans.
at home.
Pelicans. Yeah. Yep. So I think Darius Garland sits out tomorrow. He had a wrap on his back over the weekend, and Kenny Atkinson said the schedule's starting to wear him down. We saw Donovan Mitchell rest in a non-back-to-back game over the weekend. So I think it's Garland's turn tomorrow. He'll be good today. Keep an eye on those minutes, though. So Donovan Mitchell also will be back. He rested this last game. He's basically healthy. They have a tough part of the schedule coming up. Mentioned the back-to-back. So if I had to rank the likelihood of who's playing, I would say Sam Merrill's probably the least likely to play, just because it's a back-to-back, and I think they're sitting other guys out tomorrow. And then I think Okoro's probably the most likely to be in. It doesn't sound serious. And LeVert could also be in too. So, I think that LeVert and or Merrill may miss one of these or both. I don't know too much more on LeVert, though.
Yeah, past iterations of this Cavs team, when you say that Garland might be more likely to sit tomorrow or something to be alerted to tomorrow, I think of this LeVert tag and I think of, oh no, that probably means LeVert out tonight and LeVert available tomorrow. But Ty Jerome has played so well this season that I don't know that that's even a consideration anymore, because they have two capable kind of ball handlers, usage players. In the past, what they've always tried to do, if they could, is have at least 2 of 3 of Garland, LeVert, and Donovan Mitchell kind of available on the floor, have at least 1 of 2 of Jared Allen, Evan Mobley on the floor, and then you can surround them with like wing shooting, and that's a competent offense-defense type combination. I don't know if that changes with how well Ty Jerome has played this season. You can see here in the absence of Donovan Mitchell, he has a game that's right on par with Darius Garland. I mean, almost to a T, with the exception of a few fewer assists. So any thoughts on that, if the LeVert Q tag could be signaling or more likely to miss today because Garland is maybe a guy that's going to pop up tomorrow? Any thoughts there on the LeVert Q tag?
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I think that they want to manage these guys. LeVert's had a lot of injuries in his career, so I think there's a chance that he sits One of these. I feel pretty good that Sam Merrill's not playing in both of these. And if they are going to sit up Garland tomorrow, I think it makes way more sense to sit Sam today, assuming he's healthy enough to play in both games. He did miss the last game that wasn't back to back, so he could miss both of these.
All right, Boston side, their injury report is not clean either. They're still without Kristaps Porzingis, of course, and then some of the G Leaguers, but they've got Peyton Pritchard listed questionable here with a left thumb sprain. What are your notes on Pritchard's availability tonight?
Don't have much on him. Didn't get any details there, but so we're kind of flying blind if he didn't play. That would probably play them a little bit bigger. We've seen them run somewhat smaller lineups overall, and then bigger ones here and there. I think they would just play bigger. If Pritchard can't go, that would up Sam Hauser's minutes. Jordan Walsh probably plays a little bit more. Luke Cornett, whose minutes have been pretty down when they're healthy. We saw Drew Holiday miss a game over the weekend, and they just played a little bit bigger there. So, as I'm kind of getting to here, if Pritchard can't go, I just think they would bring Cornett more. The Mayes Keita would play a little bit more, and then possibly heavy minutes out of these guys. The Celtics, they lost their first NBA Cup game to Atlanta when they were 16.5-point favorites. So if they want to have this, if they want to advance in the NBA Cup, they kind of got to get this one. So I think there could be some pretty strong minutes on Tatum, JB, and even Horford. We've got Horford at pretty strong minutes. His minutes have been pretty good. You see 32 on the screen, was overtime, but his minutes have been quite strong. Derek White, too, should mention, he could play a lot in a game that the Celtics likely want to get.
All right, let's move to Charlotte and Brooklyn. On the Charlotte side, still without Nick Richards, still without Mark Williams, Nick Smith Jr. out on the G League assignment. Trey Mann listed questionable with low back soreness here. What are your notes on Trey Mann?
Yeah, he missed the last one. This back thing's been popping up there, so don't have too much to add. Charles Lee didn't have too much more detail there, but it doesn't sound serious, so he should be back. That would likely move Vasilije Micic out of the rotation. That was kind of a surprise that he came in there and got some pretty heavy minutes over Seth Curry there. So we think he's probably dead if Trey Mann's back, but I wouldn't be surprised if Micic takes Curry's minutes there. Other than that, Miles Bridges not playing a lot still. He had that knee injury that kept him out for a little bit. His minutes have been really down. And then Grant Williams played a ton in this game. As Musa Diabate's minutes got really, really cut down after playing well on Saturday, and then really cut down in the back-to-back because they wanted to space the floor out there. But so don't have a great read on Trey. Definitely could see him, missing another one or being back to normal.
Yeah, something you might see from Charlotte against kind of higher end defenses is the offensive ramifications of having somebody out there like Diabate or like, it's helpful if he can offensive rebound, but if he's not going to win offensive rebound battles against the Cavs interior, then what is he doing out there? And so that you might see those situations against some of the tougher defenses, especially the good rebounding teams. Brooklyn side of things on there, Zaire Williams listed available here. Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Thomas both getting probable tags. Cam Thomas, a new one with lower back tightness. They're without Nick Claxton still with the lower back strain, without Bojan Bogdanovic, without Day'Ron Sharpe, without Dariq Whitehead. So what are your expectations for what we see from Brooklyn tonight? Any concern on these probable tags for Dorian Finney-Smith or Cam Thomas?
Yeah, the Cam Thomas one's interesting. That was a mid-day downgrade. Probably not a damning sign, but hey, anytime you get a downgrade, definitely has our attention there. But yeah, should be good to go. Dorian Finney-Smith, this is an injury he's had before, giving him probable tags to be safe. So expect him to start. Same starting lineup here. Ben Simmons will continue to start, I believe, as we wait for Nick Claxton's back injury to keep him out, which should be all of this week. Maybe he comes back for the weekend. We'll see, but expect those guys to start. And then we had Trendon Watford return over the weekend. Expect him to play a pretty good bit, add some secondary handling to this team. You mentioned Zaire Williams upgraded, should be good to go. Noah Clowney's minutes still not popping off here, even with Claxton out. And then Keon Johnson looks to be the last man in as Shake Milton kind of got booted out here to make room for Trendon Watford.
All right, let's go to Denver and Memphis. Denver and Nikola Jokic still out due to personal reasons. Aaron Gordon still out due to the right calf strain. We've seen this Denver offense just really, really struggle in the absence of Nikola Jokic. What are your expectations for the Nuggets tonight?
Yeah, not great. They can't score without him. 90 in the last game, a rematch here, so would expect them to run it back. Dario Saric hasn't played poorly, but expect him to start and keep that job. The other interesting note was they played DeAndre Jordan in the second unit. Michael Mullen said after the game that they wanted a little bit more size to limit the Grizzlies on the boards. Same matchup. You would assume that would be the same plan here. And then, as we kind of talked about, I was a little early with the Strawther flag planting. He played pretty good bit off the bench. The nut matchup for him, the Grizzlies allow the most catch and shoot points in the NBA. So those guys could benefit from 3-point shooting. And then, Jamal Murray is, full blast on minutes here, returning from his concussion and with some garbage time here. Peyton Watson also playing a pretty good bit. Michael Porter Jr.'s minutes were kind of funky, got kind of cut out because Strawther was going a little bit. But no real concerns there. So expecting, a pretty straight 9-man. I think DeAndre Jordan's got the job, and Vlatko Konchar has also kind of iced Hunter Tyson for the last spot.
Yeah, the Jordan thing, let's get to the Grizzlies injury report because I do think it's important here. Zach Edey listed out with a left ankle sprain. There's still that John Morant, Gigi Jackson. Marcus Smart is questionable here with an illness. I do wonder if without Zach Edey, that goes back to Zeke Naji because the reason for the size concerns are Zach Edey. And so not that it matters a whole lot from a projecting the Nuggets standpoint. This is just kind of for the sickos on the back end. But I do wonder if that's more of a split role, like more of it goes back to Najee simply because Zach Edey's not around. In the absence of Zach Edey, the front court does get a little bit more clarified. This is obviously a very deep team. They are playing 11 guys. Nobody's really going deep into the 30s here. Without Edey, you take him out. All right, now you've got a front court of Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson Jr., Santi Aldama, Jay Huff. We're down to like 4 kind of front court players, I should say. You've got 4 front court players. Like that's a little bit cleaner. Without John Morant, you've got Scottie Pippen Jr. and Desmond Bane to like do all the ball handling creation. So like things clean up a little bit that we might get back to 10 here is my guess. But what are your thoughts here on the Grizzlies tonight?
Yeah, really tough team to project. Even with Edey out, they're just adding, if Marcus Smart can play, he's questionable with an illness. Yeah, it gets tight, man. Luke Kennard's been playing a bunch. He could get cut down. Surprised to see Vince Williams only play 14 minutes over the weekend. How much does Jake LaRavia play? Santi Aldama's minutes got really, really cut down in this game. And then, Brandon Clark played really, really well in this matchup. So I'd expect him to continue to start. How small do they go? I think that's on the table. Maybe Jay Huff's minutes get cut and they play a little more Jaren at the 5, which they did a little bit last year. Certainly capable without Jokic to do that there. So, that's kind of one way I think that makes some sense, just to kind of cut down Jay Huff and then just give those minutes to the guards and just play a little bit smaller there. Just because, Jay Huff, as fun as he was to start the year, he's not the caliber of player that, Vince Williams and even Marcus Smart, LaRavia, I think is a better player than Jay Huff is. So they could play a little bit smaller here. I should mention Jaren Jackson's been cooking. He's been, scoring a ton. His per minute stats are great. Should be pretty busy offensively here. And then, I should mention Desmond Bane's minutes pretty solid here. I think he's got a chance to play over 30 after they've been managing him. They also play tomorrow too, so keep an eye on that tomorrow. Bane hasn't played a back-to-back since he returned from injury. Jaren Jackson actually did play a back-to-back earlier this year.
Yeah, I was going to say that, if you look at this box score without Marcus Smart, obviously, I think if you just subbed Marcus Smart's minutes for Luke Kennard and gave him 26 and then essentially Luke Kennard down to Zach Edey at 14, they could still play 11. They could still do this 11-man rotation thing. So a couple notes on that for, subscribers to our props product who use the projections after lock and whatnot, because we have to project all these guys. If it goes from 11 to 10 at some point, we're under projecting somebody because with we have to project 11. So it's tricky. It can work to your benefit with unders on these deep teams, but also if they just choose to cut somebody out of the rotation and go with a more normal rotation size, you're going to be vulnerable on this stuff. Santi gets cut down in this one in part because Brandon Clark was playing really well, but Santi had been cut down in the previous game too. I think it's just when they have Jaren healthy and when they're trying to get Edey on the floor, it's just hard for Santi to get a bunch of minutes. Unless they commit to playing the 3 big lineup where Santi's a small forward. They're not going to do that when they have Desmond Bane back. So I think Santi's just feeling the squeeze of a healthier roster.
Yeah, and should mention that Chilla Jenkins likes that. He likes doing these short subs to keep the pace up and the energy flowing. So I think it's going to continue for now.
Yep. Okay, let's move to New Orleans and Dallas. On the New Orleans side of things, their injury report is clean of questionable tags, but filled without tags. No Jose Alvarado, Jordan Hawkins, Herbert Jones, CJ McCollum, DeJounte Murray, or Zion Williamson. This has kind of been the case the last few games for New Orleans. What are your expectations tonight?
Yeah, tough scene. They are going to get Trey Murphy back. He rested the last game in a back-to-back, so he'll be back in the starting lineup. That'll push Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, who played pretty well in this game. He should move back to the bench. Yves Missi continues to play a ton, so starting lineup should remain Brendan Boston, Javante, Brandon Ingram, Trey, and then Yves Missi. And then they'll probably just run at 9. Jamal Cain, Trey Jemison is iced Daniel Tice, and then Jalen Noel picked up a pretty big role off the bench. I would expect that role to come down with more creation and just overall shots coming with Trey Murphy there. Obviously, big spread here. This seems terrible. They're, I believe, last in offense since Zion went down, and then 28th in defense since Herb Jones went down. So, yeah, this team's absolutely terrible.
Dallas side, Luka Doncic questionable with a right knee contusion. He missed the last game. Didn't matter for Dallas. They continue their ownership of the OKC Thunder, especially PJ Washington, the mayor of Oklahoma City these days. Dante Exum out. But the big question mark here is Luka's availability. Right knee contusion questionable. What are your notes on Luka?
Yeah, went through shoot around. Pretty much all signs are he's good to go. This was a back-to-back game. They set him out. It seems like a management kind of thing. Maybe they were just trying to punt this game. Tough assignment to go on the road in OKC. But hey, PJ, too good. Kyrie played great. Quentin Grimes gave him enough. So yeah, that was a huge, huge win for those guys. So yeah, I think Luka will be back. That would obviously move Quentin Grimes back to the bench. But Quentin Grimes should have earned a role. So we'll see who gets squeezed here. It could be Spencer Dinwiddie. His minutes have kind of come down. He has been playing well as Maxi Kleber has come in there and kind of made them a little bit bigger overall. How much do we get out of Daniel Gafford? His minutes have been coming down a little bit as PJ Washington has returned from his injury. So, yeah, getting a little bit of a squeeze there. And, yeah, expecting Derek Lively to continue to start here after that weird little, we're not, they tricked us. They said in the preseason they'd start Lively, and they finally are starting him. So I think that'll stick.
Yeah, you can just scroll down because we're going to stay on the Thunder here, but 18 offensive rebounds for Dallas. And I think the Thunder had, 29 rebounds total in this game was really the difference maker between these two teams. Once again, Dallas, Lively and Gafford and PJ Washington all just were crushing on the boards in this one. So that shifts our attention from New Orleans, Dallas to Oklahoma City and San Antonio. On the Oklahoma City side, Isaiah Hartenstein remains out with left hand fracture. Chet Holmgren out for a while. They're still without Jalen Williams, the right hamstring strain that he's dealing with, and no Isaiah Joe tonight. Left calf contusion. So without Isaiah Joe, we had seen him kind of like stick in the starting lineup a bit. We're back to Case and Wallace. They also released Leons, the G Leaguer, as well. So one less player on the roster. What are your notes on the Thunder tonight?
Yeah, Isaiah Joe could have come back in the game, according to Mark Daigneault, but Mark Daigneault said he just wanted to keep him out. So a little bit surprised he didn't get a Q tag here. So he'll be out. So you would think that the starting lineup is going to be Aaron Wiggins and Cason Wallace there. Obviously, SGA Dort and J-Dub would be the other to round up the 5. Alex Caruso not listed. After changing to his listing, he was listed with, I think it was soreness, and then it got listed as a strain. And interestingly, Mark Daigneault had said that this was because the league told him to change it, which made me perk up because, we're always tracking that and thinking like, okay, hey, this guy's listing changed, yada, yada. That's interesting. So I'm going to try to dig in more on like league mandates on changing listings because they said that was the league told him to do that, according to Daigneault on listing Caruso differently. But he'll be back. We know his minutes have been pretty tight. He's, I think, never topped out at 22 minutes here. So pretty tight range for Caruso. His return should take a little bit out of Dylan Jones. Dylan Jones played pretty well in this game, 12 points in 16 minutes. So yeah, they still have enough bodies, but it should cut down. Ousmane Dieng will probably go entirely away. His minutes have really come down as Dylan Jones and AJ Mitchell have kind of leapfrogged him.
Yeah, I would also note, while we talk a lot about the NBA Cup and teams maybe having increased motivations and whatnot, Daigneault was like asked about it, and he basically said no. Like it's point differential, not interested in chasing it. Their first game in the NBA Cup against Phoenix, they're up 20 with 4 minutes left. That's usually a questionable pull time. Usually that gets down to like 3 minutes, 2 minutes. All their guys were pulled at 4 minutes. So of the teams like that we're tracking in terms of like their intentions, OKC has no intention of trying to play for point differential, seeding, those different things. They're just taking it day by day.
Yeah. One more point too. He was asked, Mark Daigneault was asked about, are you going to play differently? Because you mentioned they got killed on the boards. Even the Pelicans beat them on the boards. I think they had like 18, 19 offensive rebounds, earlier in the week. He said, we're just going to play to our strengths, and there's really nothing they could do about it. So, that's
they don't have any options. What are their options? They don't have any bigs on the roster. There's no options right now, which brings us at the Dynasty was asking if we're due for a Hartenstein update soon. Have you heard anything on the
we said Thanksgiving
recovery?
Yeah, we were saying Thanksgiving, so it should be about a week or so until we get an update on that. Those hand fractures are usually pretty consistent. You very rarely aggravate something like that, where hamstring injuries you could aggravate a pretty good bit.
Right.
So we should probably maybe a week till he's back.
All right, San Antonio side, Victor Wembanyama doubtful right knee contusion, Jeremy Sohan out, and then I think Devin Vassell got added to the injury report as questionable with a knee issue. What are your expectations and what level of concern do you have for Devin Vassell getting kind of late listed here on the injury report?
Yeah, not great. He's been managed for the foot thing, but this is a knee injury. This is the same knee that he had surgery on 2 seasons ago that, constantly had him sitting out games and all that. So a little bit concerning that he's had a history with this knee thing. So yeah, midday downgrade on something like that is pretty concerning. So I think he's got a chance to miss. That would get Malachi Branham and Blake Leslie way back more into the mix. As you mentioned, Victor Wembanyama not going to play in this one, so that'll get Zach Collins in the first unit. And Charles Bassey played basically right behind Zach Collins. A couple minutes of small ball with Sandro Mamukavishvili sneaking in there. So that'll cover the front court. And then obviously Stephen Castle, Julian Champagne's minutes will be way, way safer if Devin Vassell missed another one there. But obviously a huge spread. So not too many. And then should mention Trey Jones returned over the weekend too. So it'll be pretty small in the battle. This game's going to play pretty small overall, especially if Vassell can't play.
Yeah, spread is large, but not as large as I thought. Kind of coming when I looked, I was like, 9.5. But it is in San Antonio. But I was a little bit. I was like, this feels like a 12 or a 13. 9.5 felt a little bit lighter to me. Utah and the Lakers on the Utah side. Walker Kessler remains out with this right hip bursitis. My best ball teams weep. Colin Sexton available with the left fourth finger avulsion fracture that he keeps getting listed available for. The G Leaguers are out here. Really no big news here other than Keontae George getting benched in the second half. Last game, what are your expectations for how the Jazz start out tonight?
Pretty sure that this was just a doghouse thing. After the game, Will Hardy said that basically no minutes are guaranteed. Obviously, the message was directed at Keontae George, but Will Hardy said he trusts him, all that yada, yada stuff. So it should just be a one-time sit down, learn your lesson, take your medicine, and then go back there and start. Should mention he subbed in the third quarter and didn't sub out for the rest of the game. So I feel pretty confident that Keontae George will keep his starting lineup spot there. And then, the other stuff is Kyle Filipowski continued to start, expected to continue. And then the bench has been pretty stable. Isaiah Collier is just completely run away with the backup point guard minutes. He started over Keontae in the third quarter, if you didn't surmise that stuff there. But, playing pretty big, getting a little bit of the overlap, but not a lot. They're not sharing. The point guard minutes are very heavily going to be Keontae George and Collier, and they're overlapping. So it's really tough for getting more than 55 minutes out of Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton. So it's kind of a tough area to attack for lack of upside. Yeah,
this game went kind of smaller in the backcourt. Just generally, Kevin Porter Jr.'s minutes ticked up a little bit, and you saw the three guards playing together. So it was like combinations of Clarkson, Sexton, Collier, and or George. That's uncommon in terms of when you're looking at the minutes overlaps for Utah, but certainly might be more common going forward just with the lack of production that they've gotten out of Cody Williams and the lack of depth that they have on the wings right now. Lakers, a little bit more challenging to do that against. They, especially if they have Rui Hachimura, which we'll talk through in a second, but they're just a much bigger team naturally. So it's a little bit harder to get those extra minutes out of the guards. Let's go to the Lakers side where Anthony Davis is listed probable with that left plantar fasciitis. Rui Hachimura is questionable with the left ankle sprain. They're without Jackson Hayes, without Jalen Hood-Schifino, Jared Vanderbilt, and Christian Wood. And they listed Bronny James doubtful here with the left heel contusion as well. What are your notes on Rui Hachimura's availability tonight?
Yeah, Rui Hachimura did not practice yesterday, so expecting him to miss. That could have changed maybe, but he's pretty – I think he's coin flip at best We'll find out more, obviously, late start time. We haven't found out shoot-around stuff yet. So I think he's got a good chance to miss this game. If he's missed this one, then who starts? Cam Reddish missed the last one, but has Dalton Connect done enough to earn that job? I think they kind of leg him off the bench. So I think Cam Reddish would still have his starting job. He's been playing pretty well. So if Rui is out, I would expect Cam Reddish to probably continue to start along. He's probably going to start either way. But the next question is, has Max Christie done enough to earn minutes? I don't know. So we were kind of figuring out, we know JJ Redick likes to run 9. He almost ran 8 in this game. So who's out? If they're going to run 9 and Cam Reddish is back, is Max Christie alive? Does he come for Gabe Vincent's minutes? So we've got a little bit of a hedge on the 9th man. I still think Cam Reddish is pretty safe. He's been playing pretty well for them overall, despite how everyone wants to rip him, which is justified. He's been pretty bad most of his career. But yeah, other than that, AD listed probable. That's going to happen forever, it feels like, overall. But yeah, I think Rui's going to miss one more here.
I mean, if Rui misses one more, they have 9 with Reddish, right? So it's
But if he's back though,
it's right. It's not an issue unless Rui is back in terms of figuring out who the 9th man is. And in that case, then it gets Christie, Reddish, Gabe Vincent. Those are the candidates who are on the chopping block there. Yep. All right. That will do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, if you're interested in checking out our premium content, you can go to establishedrun.com/subscribe-NBA for more details on our premium product offerings on both the NBA DFS side of things and on the prop side of things. Very proud of the content and the work that we put out on the projection side of things, and have all that great stuff there. You can check out and read more about that on that subscribe page. If you are only interested in checking out our free content, that's cool too. The best way to support us here is by subscribing to this YouTube channel. You can hit the bell and get notifications whenever we go live. You can also smash that like button, and that's the best way to circulate this content and feed that algorithm, which helps feed our families and allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to set your season-long lineups, your DFS lineups, and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash that like button, feed that algorithm. Nom, 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 nom. We'll see you next time.